How do you turn a $40 dresser into more than $1,000 dresser? Stay tuned. I'm going to walk you through this whole process. This dresser is kind of funny. It started out as a $40. I saw it on Facebook Marketplace. And when I went to go pick it up on my way, I was messaged by the seller. Oh, by the way, I'm watching the World Series at a bar. So meet me in the back of the bar. I have this in my truck. It's a little sketchy. I really wanted this dresser, so I went ahead and did it. But this is the dresser that I bought in the back of a bar. I knew it was going to be something, though. I saw this. I knew it was a Bassett, and I wanted it. So this is now the bar dresser. Big molding and pretty brass hardware. This is going to be a beautiful dresser. Stay tuned for the makeover because it's going to happen twice. I'm Shireen with Olive Street Designs, and I'm showing the process of furniture refinishing so you can learn too. Be sure to subscribe and follow for more. Okay, let's dive into this total refresh of this dresser. First thing I like to do, well, I got this all cleaned up, and then I want to make sure all of these drawers fit well. As I noticed when I first started messing with them, is a lot of them were like clunking the sides and not going in and out, so I want to adjust that. And although I'm blocking the view completely, what I'm doing is I'm sanding the side of that little trim there just to make sure it fits in there perfectly. Make sure I test them all out and we're good to go. So I start sanding, and I will let you know. The sides of this are wood. The top of this dresser is laminate. The sides of the dresser are wood. And then those drawer fronts where that molding is real heavy and thick, those are molded plastic. So I know that I'm probably going to get a lot of messages that said, you should have just restained this, but that is impossible with this dresser. So in order to give this a total refresh and a makeover, this one's going to get painted. And there's a twist at the end, so this one's getting painted more than once. First thing to do though, after some scuff sanding, to get this hardware off of here. I love these poles. They are solid brass. They're just beautiful. I love the design of them. So I'm not changing things. A lot of times with these types of dressers, I will pull all that plastic off and start with something vanilla, but I like this molding, so I'm going to keep it. As I take all my drawers out so I can start cleaning the inside and getting this all ready to go, is I'm numbering everything. Not showing it very well, but I always number the drawers, especially since I have them all fitted and I know they fit in their spot. I want to keep them there. So it's dirty, as you can see, where I'm just vacuumed. I haven't even wiped it out yet. The difference in the color between the ones on the left and where I'm headed with how dirty these things are. This has been 50 or 60 years in somebody's home, and most people don't take all the drawers out and vacuum underneath them. So it's got a lot of dust. It feels so good to get it cleaned up. So back to doing some scuff sanding. Even though all of this is plastic, it's just the edges that are plastic. So down in that deep well, that's back to the wood, but I do need to get everything scuff sanded, even the plastic, because I need to have some good adhesion. The other thing I'm doing is, as I see areas inside the drawer, I'm sanding into the bottom of the drawers as well. So I want to make sure that everything is sanded. So some of these drawers on the very inside just have some scuffs or little discoloration and scratches, and I sand all that out. I'm just using a damp microfiber towel just to get everything just wiped off. I want to make sure that I've gotten any scratches or anything out. I mean, the fact that this is laminate, there's not a lot of scratches. So that actually is kind of a good thing with a dresser that's so old. They stay in really good condition. So I'm going to take this off the dollies, and I actually put the dollies behind the dresser. I'm going to lay this down. I've got to work on the base. So as I tip this over, I'm going to tip it onto my little dollies, so then I can move this dresser around. And they're heavy, so I don't want to have to be dragging this around my garage floor. Now it's on wheels and I can move it around easily. And it's time to start stripping this base. This is one of the things that I also love about this dresser, the base construction. It's solid wood, of course, but it's just a very simple design. It really lets the drawer fronts and everything shine. But I want to make sure that this is another, unique feature. So I'm going to strip this down completely to bare wood and stain it. I'm using my carbide scraper because this is completely flat, and this is a perfect place to use a carbide scraper because I'm not having to worry about getting around details or damaging it because I can just scrape these flat spots. Now the legs do have some curves to it, so I can't use the carbide scraper there. So I scraped off as much as I could on all the flat spots. Now I'm just going back in with my sander to get everything back down to bare wood. I don't really have a lot of sanding to do because the carbide scraper just made pretty quick work of this. This is a really old finish and it's actually coming off pretty easily. So I have 120 grit sandpaper on my surf prep. And while I have the dresser laying down on its back, it's a good time to sand the front. And again, just giving this all a quick scuff sanding. So now that I've got everything stripped down, it's time for some stain. This is salmon stain in the color dark oak, one of my favorite colors. This is a water-based stain. I really like this stain. It just has such a deep, heavy pigment that it goes on really nice, and I really like it. So I'm just using a poly brush to put the stain on. There's a ton of different ways you could do it. You could use an old sock if you wanted to, but I like to use the poly brush. And sometimes I dilute this stain because I love the color of it and the hue, but I don't want it to be quite so opaque. But this is full strength, and I'm just going to go ahead and put it on here. And once I like to do like one whole pass and then wipe it back so that it goes on very even. Okay, now I'm taking a paper towel. This is just a shop towel to wipe off some of this stain. And again, you want to just do it with even pressure along the whole thing so that it comes out a very consistent and even color. I let that dry for a few hours, and now I'm putting on some top coat, and I put a drop of that stain in my top coat as well. I tinted my top coat a little bit because I wanted to deepen the color just a touch. So again, same poly brush, I just rinsed it off, let it dry, and I'm using the same brush. Okay, I let the base dry, and it dried for probably about 3 hours. And now I'm taping everything off. And I'm going to use aluminum foil on the legs. I love this method because you can just mold it right around the legs rather than taping round and round and round, and then taking the tape off is awful. But this is also, new stain and new top coat, so I don't necessarily want to put that much tape on it, but you just mold them right around there. I put a piece of tape around it just for good measure, although it doesn't really move, but I usually put the tape around there just to secure it. And that's the easiest way to tape off legs. I've got one little area of the cabinet that has a dent in it that I need to repair, and this wood pate from Farmhouse is my absolute favorite wood filler. It's just, I don't even know how to describe it. I want to say it's like delicious, but it's just super creamy, and it dries very hard. So I put that on there, I let it dry, and now it's time to wipe off all the drawers. This is the final cleaning. I've got a damp microfiber towel. The drawers are numbered, so I know where they go. It makes quick work of this, but I've got to get everything cleaned up because it's almost time to prime. I set up my large spray tent because this is a long dresser. It just makes things so much easier, and into the tent we go. Time for some primer. I mean, all the prep work is done. This is so much fun because this is where the transformation really starts. I'm using Stix primer here because with the plastic drawer fronts and the laminate, I want to make sure that I use a really good adhesive primer. And Stix is just fantastic for that. So I let that dry, and I'm sanding in between coats. And now it is time for the transformation. I have mixed this just beautiful dark olive green. I just had a vision in mind, and I started mixing several colors until I got where I wanted it. And it's this really pretty earthy dark olive. There's a lot of details here. So I turned my sprayer, you know, I have the airflow very high, but I turned the paint flow way down because I want to make sure that I can go all around those little details without putting too much paint on there, or I will get drips. And this is the top of the dresser, of course, and I turned the paint flow back up a bit, and you'll see here how I am overlapping each pass. That is what is going to give you a really nice consistent coat. Once that dries, I pull out all the drawers because now I need to touch up the edges. These drawers sit down into the cabinet, so the sprayer just can't reach this part. And I paint with the drawers in for a reason. I think it gives me the best overall outcome. All I have to do is touch this up, but the inside of my dresser is spotless. I don't want paint on the drawer guides. If I take all the drawers out and spray each one individually, now I have to wrap each drawer with plastic and tape. Again, more time, more materials. I just leave them in the dresser. I can spray it, and at this angle, I love spraying at this angle because everything comes out so nice and smooth, and then I don't have all the prep, and the inside of my dresser stays nice and clean. So many reasons to do it this way. It really is very efficient, and I think gives me the best overall outcome because that buttery smooth finish is what we're all after, and this is how I achieve it. I do get a lot of questions about that. So I just went each drawer at a time. Okay, while that is drying, I'm going to address the hardware. This is hardware soup. I boiled it in vinegar and water, and I boiled it for 15 minutes. Into the sink they go with Barkeeper's Friend and steel wool. And then you're just going to scrub until you can't feel your fingertips. And scrub some more. This actually didn't take all that long because once you boil it in vinegar and water, that gunk that's on there really just kind of falls off. But look at the difference in just a few minutes. Oh my goodness. I love solid brass hardware. I mean, I'm not going to have to do anything to that. That is the real deal. Okay, now everything's dry, so of course I've scuff sand that again and another coat of paint. And once that was dry, now it's time for some Topcoat. Nice even layers of Topcoat. I will do several layers of this. It is tinted with just a little hint of paint, but you'll see how evenly it goes on. I love spraying Topcoat. Time to reinstall the hardware. Peel the tape off to reveal the base. I didn't get a speck of paint on it. And now I'm going to take some Howard's Wax and Feed, and I'm going to just condition the inside of these drawers. They're dry. Just really, they don't need much. It's just a hint of it. And really, don't oil up your drawers, but this is just a tiny bit, like half a teaspoon maybe. And I can do several drawers with it just to condition that wood so it's not so dry. I do the inside of the drawers, the outside of the drawers. And then this one is going to get a logo. I don't put these in all my pieces, but those that shine, I do put my logo in them. Okay, time for a little staging. Turn on the stage lights. I've got this listed for $7.95. I think it turned out beautifully. Right away I had a buyer and they wanted it a different color. So we'll take the hardware back off. Another quick scuff sand. Tape the base back off again. Clean everything off. Back into the spray tent. And time for a different paint color. I didn't show this last time, but I do touch up everything inside the cabinet. Hardware's back on again, and here we are with the final color. This is a Midnight Navy from Farmhouse Evolution. So even though I had to go back in the tent and get a second color, this one turned out perfect. It's exactly what the buyers are looking for, and that makes it all worthwhile in my book. So if you're here to watch the whole process and take in the before and afters, be sure to hit that subscribe button and follow for more.